Hare Krishna, dear friends, Vaishnavas. Thank you so much for joining. We are so grateful to all of you for your precious time and joining us in this session 6, right? See, time is such a thing which will fly. Like, does it feel like that? Oh, we are already at session 6. Doesn't feel like, right? That means 6 weeks have passed. The time will just fly by. How many of us, raise your hand if you feel, oh, the last year just flew by, oh, the year just started and it's already mid-March, right? Did we feel like that? Do we feel like that sometimes? A lot of us feel like that, correct? And similarly, life will also, move very fast. But what we do in that life is a matter of choice. Between B and D is a sea of choice. The B is birth and D is death. That's beyond our control, right? Which we will study today. But there's a sea between B and D, and C is a sea of choices. So I'm so grateful to all of you for making this wonderful choice of giving your precious time, energy, and association to help all of us to read Bhagavad Gita, to understand Bhagavad Gita, to enrich and enlighten ourselves from the science of Bhagavad Gita. So before we move on to the today's piece of discussion, I would like to take maybe one or two reflections or something during your reading you came across something which really struck you, or something from last time really struck you. This is a quick recap of what we studied last time, and so that we all can remind ourselves and refresh ourselves and then move on to today's piece. Would someone like to share? Want to raise your hand and share what anything, any point, any comment? Yes, Ravi Shankar Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, devotees. Prabhuji, the point you made, the Shreyas and Prayas, that was a very good concept for me.
Shreyas and Prayas. Okay, who will tell what Shreyas? Raise your hand if you know what is meant by Shreyas. Sampada, would you like to share what is Shreyas? No? Okay,
I forgot.
you
Sorry,
forgot.
Guruji.
Who can tell? Abhishek?
Shreyas, Shreyas is, okay. Should I tell Prabhuji?
I think Abhishek wants to try.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Shreyas is like Shreyas, like we can say we have to do our duties and like a long-term goal, and we don't have to worry about its results and all those things. It's like it's a long-term happiness. You don't have to worry about short-term goal. That is Shreyas.
Mhm. Long-term, ultimate benefit. That's
Ultimate
that's Shreyas. Um, like, and Prayas is not worrying about the long term and thinking about temporary or short term. Like a child, if you give him or her chocolates, the child will just try to grab the chocolate without worrying about the consequences, without worrying about the the past or what it will lead to, or without worrying about the future. So, but an intelligent person would want to consider carefully whether this thing is going to be of my ultimate benefit. So, and that will be kind of linked to our discussion today, because today we are going to talk about a very, very special topic, and that is the science of soul. Okay, any other points before we move on? Okay, so I think we studied till text number 8 last time. So let's quickly do 9 and 10. And then from 11, there's a different topic, which is the science of soul. So would someone like to, I'll read the Sanskrit and then raise your hand if you're interested to read the translation. Sanjaya Uvacha Evam Muktva Rishi Kesham Gunakesham Param Tapaha Na Yotsya iti Govindam uktva tushnim babhuvaha. Yes, Shital Mataji, you can read the translation. Vaishya Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Sanjay said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, the chastisers of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, Hare Krishna.
Was it just me having difficulty in hearing, or? Okay,
We were not able to hear Prabhuji.
Okay. Anita Mataji, would you like to read again?
Prabhuji, I should read the translation.
Yeah, please.
Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Shital Mataji, maybe there's some technical issue. Thank you for reading. Krishna heard you. With this tool, sometimes we cannot hear, but Krishna, hears us because he's sitting right in our heart. So when we call out, he certainly hears. So just a quick background. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, Arjuna's confusion, Arjuna's vishada, Arjuna's lamentation, crying, depression, and giving up the Gandiva bow. The chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita is called the summary of Bhagavad Gita also. And interestingly, I shared that the acronym is Gita. In the first about 10 verses, including this one, talks about the G of Guru. That means we have to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Now, Sanjaya is speaking to whom? Dhritarashtra, correct? Because they are present at Hastinapur about 100 miles plus away from Kurukshetra. How could Sanjaya hear all this? How could Sanjaya see all these live telecasts without having Facebook Live or YouTube Live, right? with the mercy of Vyasa's life. And that is real life. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. Because when one serves one's spiritual master, all the insights, all the divine knowledge, all that is good for us will be revealed to us in the heart. So Sanjaya was a disciple of Vyasadeva. And by the mercy of Vyasadeva, he could understand, he could see, he had the special blessing to see Bhagavad Gita and the whole war in action live. And he was narrating this. So Dhritarashtra kind of was happy. Oh wow, the war will not happen now. And my sons will be kind of victorious, because if like the opponent doesn't want to fight, then naturally the other side becomes victorious. Correct? Very, very, simple. But now Sanjaya is kind of breaking the false hopes of Dhritarashtra by addressing him as Parantapa, chastiser of enemies, and Gunakesha. Can anyone tell the meaning of Gunakesha, which we discussed in the past? Raise your hand if you would like to share the meaning of Gunakesha. Yes, Ravi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Gurakesh is the one who has the victory over all type of ignorance.
Ignorance, yes. Or darkness.
Or darkness,
So,
or
yes.
sleep. Sleep is part of the ignorance. So
Very
Arjuna
nice.
he had won his sleep also.
Very nice. And how can we overcome darkness? Guna Isha, by being a devotee, by taking shelter of a spiritual master, which is the first G of Gita, because without Guru, there is no Bhagavad Gita, correct? The first G is the spiritual master or the Guru. So when one takes shelter of a spiritual master, we can overcome our darkness, we can overcome our lower moods, we can overcome our bad habits, we can overcome our dark side and become pure. That's the message. Because Arjuna had taken shelter in the previous verse, chapter 2, text 7, which we just read in the last time. And now Sanjay is assuring, because Sanjay is also a self-realized soul, that Dhritarashtra, don't try to be happy, because this is just like a drama. This is like a momentary thing. Arjuna may be acting as if as he is overcome by darkness, but he is Godakesha, he's the chastiser of enemies. Don't forget how many times he has kind of destroyed or be victorious over the Kauravas and other Kauravas and party. So now let's move on to the next verse, text number 10. Actually, we missed the Mangala Charan prayers, but better late than never. So let's chant. It's my mistake. I should have done that first, but better late than never. So let's do the Mangala Charan prayers also. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Kam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. See, talking about Guru, I somehow felt that something was missing and the Guru prayers were missing. So that's the only because of the grace of the spiritual master and the Guru Parampara that whatever we are reading and hearing here, it's not my thoughts. It's all coming from this, our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, which starts or originates from Lord Krishna himself, and then to Brahma, then to Narad Muni, and like that in the contemporary times to Srila Lord himself came as Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and then the Goswamis, and then Srila Prabhupada, and then his disciples. So back to Bhagavad Gita, text number 10. Tam uvacha rishikesha prahasan iva bharata senayor madhye vishidantam idam vachaha. Yes. Someone wants to read text number 10, translation? Yes, Vedi, Navni? Navni, yes, please read.
O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both of the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjun.
Thank you so much. So here Krishna's mood is changing, right? Therefore there's a sweet smile. Krishna is always smiling. Krishna is always transcendental. He's always smiling. Have you been to any temple or any altar and see Krishna crying on the altar? No, he's always smiling. Rather, when we cry, like when Arjuna is crying and he goes to Krishna and Krishna is smiling, so seeing Krishna smile, now Arjuna will also smile. Because he takes away all the perplexities. You remember we discussed that. If we want to be free from the perplexities of life, we have to take shelter of Krishna, because he is all attractive. That's one of the meanings of Krishna. All attractive. Akarshan. Akarshan means to attract. Krishna. He's all attractive. He will take away all the impurities. Like when Putana came, Krishna took the poison also, and gave the position of a mother. That's Krishna. He only sees good in the child. Like a mother and or father, they only see the good qualities of the child, especially a small child. They will not say, even if the child says papi to papa, the father will think, wow, oh, she's calling me papi, papi. Well, right? The father will not think she's calling me a sinful person, right? So that's the meaning of papi in Hindi. So coming back to this verse, the grief-stricken Arjuna has taken shelter of Krishna as a spiritual master. He is voluntarily willing to follow the instructions of the Supreme Lord or his spiritual master. Very, very important word. Voluntarily willing to follow the instructions. And now that will result to removal of all grief. And Krishna is smiling because now the role is changing. Earlier, they were talking more on a friendship level. Hey, how are you? How is it going? I think I should not fight. I think if I fight, this will happen. I think if I do, what will happen to the family and this and that. Okay, Krishna, okay, that's what you think. That's what you think, But then when he took shelter, now the role is changing. And Prabhupada mentioned that the talks between the spiritual master and the disciple are not casual. So therefore, we should not take spiritual master just for the fashion. Oh, he has spiritual master, she has spiritual master, so I should also take spiritual master. If we are serious to inquire about the real truth of life, that's why we need spiritual master. We discuss this topic in great detail. Not to inquire, oh, whom will I get married to? Oh, when will I get my new job? Oh, when will I get my home? When will I get my car? That's not the topic to inquire from the spiritual master. We should inquire about the serious topic. How can I get free from the cycle of birth and death? Why am I suffering? I don't know. I don't want any difficulties in life, but why do I get the difficulties? Why do my near and dear ones, I have to get away from them? Why my grandfather, I loved him, why he is no more with me? Correct? Asking the real questions of life. Why are people suffering? Why someone is born with a golden spoon in his mouth, and why someone is born in a beggar's family? Correct? Is there God? If God is there, how can I see God? How can I connect myself to God? These are the true questions. Am I the body or the soul? What is my true identity? I want happiness, but why do miseries come? Why do I get disease? Why do I get so many problems? So these are the true questions of life one should ask for. And one should be serious also to accept the instructions. It's as good as if a patient, goes to the doctor and the doctor gives some medicine or some advice, do's and don'ts, but the patient does not follow it. It's as good as not going to the doctor. All of you agree with that? Put the thumbs up button in the reaction to let me see who all are hearing and if you agree with that. Okay, most of you are hearing very, very attentively, and I see a lot of wonderful reactions. So that's great. So coming back, the talks between the spiritual master and the disciple are serious. Okay, and we should sincerely and seriously accept it. Correct? Now, in the midst of the army, Krishna spoke the following words. Now, actually, the real thing starts, the real message of God. Because until that, Krishna was just trying to set up the environment. Now, the real action of the real action of destruction of Arjuna's ignorance will start. And if you remember the first reason, who remembers the first reason Arjuna gave to not fight? If you answered correctly, I'll give you a bonus video today. Yes,
Hare
Manasa
Krishna
Mataji.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
and as like all in battlefield who are all fighting, so all are relatives like fathers, grandfathers, right? That's the reason why Arjuna felt like is this battle necessary now.
Very
This is what
nice.
I remembered.
Very nice. And that's correct. So you have, Mansa Mataji, on behalf of everyone, you have kind of claimed to watch the video. That's surprise.
No,
Yeah.
nothing like that. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, yes, he said, how can I kill my swajana? These are my people. These are my friends, my cousins, my relatives, my uncles, my guru, my grandfather, etc., etc. Basically, compassion on the level of body. So now Krishna is giving the real message of Bhagavad Gita to understand who am I? What is my true identity? Correct? Because this is very, very important to understand. If we don't know who we are and we are trying to get happy, it doesn't make sense, right? Because first of all, we need to understand who we are, then only we can try to be happy. Correct? Let me tell you a joke. Because if we think, let's imagine, if we whole life we spend thinking ourselves to be something we are not. Okay, for example, I have this human body, but somehow I spend my whole life thinking I am a king. Okay, and I talk like a king, and am talking like a, oh, servants come here, okay, let's go for war. Okay, now we have won over this kingdom. What will you call me? Correct? Anyone wants to say, what will you call me? Crazy, right? Hmm? We'll call crazy. Karina agrees. Okay, crazy, right? Or a fool. Or a fool. Fool is what? Fool is one who does not know his true or her true identity. Correct? And he is thinking himself of what he is not. Correct? It's very, very important to understand who am I? Like, why do we need to understand? Because we need to understand, otherwise, the foundation of our life will be wrong. Correct? And if the foundation of our life is wrong, then all the decisions we will be making will also be on that foundation. And that's what happens with 99% of the population. What do we think? I am the body. And that's a foundation. And let me enjoy the bodily things as much as possible. And Arjuna was also thinking the same. My bodily relatives will die. Okay, so now let's hear how can we truly understand. And that's the next G is Guru, and Guru tells us about the I of identity. So the acronym Gita is moving along now from text number 11. The I comes. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asochayan Anvasocastvam Pragyavadamscha Bhashase Gatasum Agatasumscha Nanusochanti Panditaha. Yes, someone wants to read the translation? Yes, Megha Mataji, please. And then Karina, you will read the next one.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So now the matter is serious now. And the first thing, Guru means heavy also. Guru also means one who removes the darkness. Guru means darkness. Guru means to remove. Guru also means heavy. So in short, Krishna is calling here Arjuna a fool, correct? Isn't it? Krishna is calling Arjuna a fool. You're talking very learned words in the first, and why did Krishna do so? Because Arjuna voluntarily surrendered. Until in the first chapter, Krishna did not call Arjuna a fool. Until in the first chapter, he was more of a friend. Okay, you want me to take the chariot in the middle of the armies? Okay, I'll do it for you, my friend. But now the relationship is more of a guru and a disciple. So here Krishna is first chastising Arjuna. The first, the Guru may humble the disciple. The Guru may sometimes speak harsh words, but it should not be, oh, how can you say harsh words to me? And then I get rid of your servitorship. That happens because this is Kali Yuga. We don't have that much surrender to the spiritual master. Then we will get a bogus guru. Then we will get a so-called guru. If we are not ready to accept heavy instructions from the spiritual master, then we will not get a good guru. If we want a guru who should not hurt our feelings, right? Arjuna's feelings must be hurt. How many of you agree here? Raise your hand if you agree. Because he was being called a fool. Hey, you're talking very learned words like a pandita, but you are lamenting of something which is not worthy of being, not worthy of lamentation. Asochayan anvasochastvam. Ashochayan anvasochastvam. Shocha, shoka, shok samaro, right? In Hindi, in India, you have heard shok samaro is like mourning. You're mourning, you're lamenting of something which is not worthy of lamentation. Correct? And that applies to actually majority of the population. So Arjuna's education starts with A of Ashochayan. A for apple, A for Ashochayan. Don't lament. Don't lament on the things which are not worthy of lamentation. Right? You're talking about the body. Well, so the wise neither lament not for the living, not for the dead. In short, the body, again, in multiple verses, Krishna will explain this topic because this is the foundation of our life. This is one of the five main topics of Bhagavad Gita is identity, Atma. What is my true self? Therefore, Krishna will talk about this topic from multiple aspects so that we can easily understand this topic and not just understand, but apply. Sorry, Prabhu, you were saying something?
No, Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu.
Am I audible and clear? Okay, good. So, text number 11. Do not lament. Krishna is calling him a fool. A disciple should be ready to be called by the Guru a fool. It should not be, oh, I'll leave. Guru, you are calling me a fool? You don't know I'm a big doctor. You don't know I'm a big engineer. I'm a big lawyer. You're calling me a fool? I'm so learned. Oh, I have a lot of wealth also. You know whom you're talking to? I'm so learned. I'm so wealthy. You're calling me a fool? Arjuna could have said that, right? Because he had a lot of traits. He had a lot of accomplishments, right? But he was very, very humble in front of his spiritual master, in front of the Supreme Lord. So, and that's where he was worthy recipient of Bhagavad Gita. So let's see what else. Natvevaham jatu nasham natvam neme janadhipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayam natah param. Yes, Karina, Mataji, please.
Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So what does this tell us? This tells us that we are all eternal, correct? Never was there a time that I do not exist. That means the Supreme Lord is eternal. Krishna, Sri Bhagavana is speaking these words, and we have discussed in detail what that Sri Bhagavana means. Nor you, referring to Arjuna. Oh, Arjuna, you're also eternal. Nor all of these kings, referring to the kings on your side and the other side as well. Duryodhana, Karna, Bhishma, and Dronacharya, etc., all your relatives, etc., they're all eternal parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So very, very important point to understand that we are all eternal beings. Correct? We are all eternal beings. Now you may say, well, my grandfather is no more with me. I'm just talking about my case. I'm not talking about anyone else's case. My great grandfather is not more with me. Or my, then how can he be eternal? Right? I don't see him living with me. Correct? That could be a very obvious question of someone. So here we are talking about the eternal identity of the soul. And the body which covers that soul is like a vehicle. We all have sat in cars or driven cars. So the car is like the body, okay, or the vehicle for the driver or the passengers. The passenger inside or the driver inside is like the soul or atma. It's a very, very important point. Sometimes the car may get old, and then the driver will get a new car. Correct? All of us may have done that at some point. When the car is no more functional, we get a new car so that we can. And how many of you are very, very upset? Oh, my 25-year-old car, I have to get rid of it, and I don't want this brand new car. I'm so miserable. How many of you are very miserable on that change? Raise your hand. How many of you are very happy? Okay, let's talk about happiness. If you get a brand new car and you have to replace the new broken down old car, which is 10 years old and sometimes stops and works for nothing, you all will be happy. I see a lot of clapping going on, a lot of raised hands. That's wonderful. So therefore, the driver represents the Atma and the car represents the body. So let's see. And there are multiple verses. Some people, Prabhupada explains in this point, some people talk about the Mayavadi conception that, oh, right now you are a jiva or a soul, and God is another super soul, but after liberation you will become one with God. That's not supported here in the Vaishnava Siddhanta or the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. We are eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, eternally separated. Even in the spiritual world, even one goes back home, back to Godhead, that does not mean that one becomes God. That's a very, very important point to understand. Krishna always remains the Supreme Lord, and the Jiva always remains Jivera Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das, a servant. Now, a servant may sound like a bad term in this world, but a servant is a very special term in spiritual world, because the servant enjoys more than the master. And that's why Lord Chaitanya wanted to come. Hey, how can a servant enjoy more than the master? Let me experience that rasa of servitorship. And there's another reason why Lord Chaitanya wanted to come. His appearance, Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu, his appearance day is in 2 weeks approximately. So Lord comes as his own devotee to experience that sweetness of the rasa which Srimati Radharani was experiencing as the topmost servant. So Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahudan Yo Vididhati Kaman. So Krishna is always eternal Lord, and the Jiva is always eternal servant. The Mayavadi theory does not apply here. That does not mean, so we don't become God. Oh, some people say, well, I am right now in a conditioned state, but I will become God at some point. God is in the influence of different conditions or imperfections or material designations. Now, we may not remember. We don't remember what happened like 2 weeks back. How many of you remember can tell me what you ate 2 months back at lunchtime? Can anyone tell? It's very hard to remember, right? What to speak of the eternal journey of the soul, right? And we'll talk about this, remind me, we'll talk about some people remember maybe one life back, and then there have been a lot of case studies and that what happened to them in their previous lives, okay? Which also tells what What conclusion can we draw from that? Who can tell? Raise your hand if you, some person remember their past lives. Yes, how many wants to tell?
It means we have a reincarnation, in the sense like we take punarjanam.
Very nice. And that's a perfect segue for our next words. Dehino. Yes, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantaras prapti dhiras tatra namoyati. Yes, Hiten Bhuta, would you like to read, please? Sorry if I misspoke your name.
No, that is fine. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change.
Thank you. Where are you joining from, sir?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends in Florida. And now I
Okay.
have one more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where do you live in Tampa?
Sorry?
Which part of Tampa do you live?
Tampa, not Tampa. I am
Not
here
Tampa.
in Arbor Green community,
Oh,
next to
wonderful.
Corey Lake.
Wonderful. You have a lot of good friends there.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking out your time to join and
Okay.
and helping all of us to study Bhagavad Gita. We are so grateful to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So what do we understand here? That the body, okay, we all are growing up, correct? Raise your hand if your picture 10 years back, for those who are more than 10 years, looks exactly the same as you look now. Has anyone's face, body, length, width, height, all the body looks the same as you were 10 years back, right? It's changing, correct? You all agree? It changed. What to speak of 10 years? It changes every practically day. There are new cells formed and their old cells die. And some say, well, the brain cells don't change. The scientists, we have more faith in science than Bhagavad Gita. That's Kali Yuga. It should be opposite. Because the words, and that's a topic for tomorrow, okay? For those who want to understand the science and Krishna consciousness, we have a special class tomorrow. So reach out to me if you are interested to join. I'll share the details. So even the brain cells, within a matter of 7 years, all the cells are different. That means the body which I have, or we all have our different bodies, different height, width, male, female, these are all bodily designations. Nothing of this body which is present now was there 7 years back. Is this point very clear? Who can repeat this point? Because it's a very important point. Let's just repeat this point in your language. Karthik Prabhu, you want to repeat this point?
Yes, but when you said your language, you just wanted me to
Yeah,
read.
like paraphrase. Yeah. What you understood from that?
So my understanding is that everything is constantly changing with regard to our body, and change is constant, is what I infer out of this.
Thank you. Very nice. So now here, the changes mentioned are the stages of life, correct? Some of us are 5 years, some of us are 15 years, some of us are 25 years, some of us are 40 years, some of us are 50 years, some of us are in 70 years. We're all different ages in different bodies. Like, how does it start? It starts from the birth. And even before that, the child in the womb of the mother. from the conception phase, the child grows, right? And there's a gestation period of 9 months. In the 9 months also, now through different technology, the parents can see the growth of the child, right? And then the child comes out, and that's the birth day. And then goes, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, and then the youth, adulthood, and then the body may produce also offsprings, marriage, and children, etc. And then gradually deteriorates, the strength deteriorates, the eyesight deteriorates. We all know that in old age it's difficult. And then finally what? Death. So as the embodied soul continually passes, the soul remains same, correct? Because otherwise we feel we're the same person. How many of you feel that the person has, as an individual, you have changed? When you see your picture or some memory from 10 years back, 5 years back, do you feel you were a different person? As a person, we are the same. As an individual, we don't change, correct? Because the whole body is changed, but the consciousness has not changed, correct? Or the driver, the spirit soul has not changed, correct? That spirit soul which resides in the region of the heart remains the same. And what happens at the time of death? At the time of death, the soul passes into another body, correct? Because the body is no more functional, whether it's 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, at max 100 years in the present, correct? So an intelligent person, a sober, a dhira means intelligence, one who has good intelligence, should not be bewildered. Is there any family in this world where there has been no death in their family or of death of the body? Can anyone say that there has been a family, there has been the death of the body? Correct? The body will die at some point or the other, at some age or the other, correct? But the spirit soul never dies. That's the fundamental teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Like the changing of the car. When the car gets old, the driver happily gets a new car, correct? Without getting bewildered. So now that does not mean we have to not take care of the body. That does not mean that we have to ignore our body. That means we have to understand, like we maintain our car, correct? We maintain the car, we check the brakes, check the oil, etc. Because it's a vehicle. It's a vehicle to get to the destination, correct? What is the purpose of car? To get to our destination. Let's say you want to use the car to get to a grocery store, or to your child's school, or to the temple, or to your workplace, etc. Correct? You have a goal in mind. We don't start the car without the goal. Similarly, the body is also a vehicle. The car has 4 tires, the body has 4 limbs, right? The car has the engine, the body has the heart, right, which pumps the blood and pumps the oil to different parts of the body, and then the body runs, correct? The car needs food, petrol, diesel, etc. The body also needs some food, correct? So quite a lot of similarities. And without the soul, the body is just a lump of dead matter, correct? You agree? When the driver is out of the car, will the car move by itself? Will the car be able to decide where I need to go? No, right? So the driver drives the car. Similarly, we have the soul is the symptom of the soul is consciousness. When the body is dead, okay, at the time of death, what do we say? Oh, so and so passed away, correct? We say like that. Or in Hindi, they say chhod ke chale gaye. What do you say in Telugu? Anyone will tell? Something similar? Or who can tell in some other language what they say in something similar? That the body has passed, or chhod ke chale gaye. And
in Bengali, it is known as Parlok Gamon Koreche.
Oh, parlo gaman koreche. Gaman. Something is gone, right? Very nice. Anyone else in their language would like to say?
इनका देहांत हो गया.
Dehant ho gaya. Dehe ant ho gaya. Very nice. Anyone else?
In Telugu, they'll say దేవుడి దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళిపోయినాడు. దేవుడు means God. వెళ్ళిపోయారు means passed away.
Passed away. So what has passed away? The body is still lying there, correct? In all these languages, we say passed away, the person has left, or they has gone to Parlogaman Hoiche. Koribe Parlogaman. Or Swargavas ho gaya, or he has gone to heaven, although he may have done tons of bad activities, but no one will say Narkavas ho gaya. Right? Everyone will say Swargavas ho gaya. No one will say he has gone to hellish planets, irrespective of he has done unlimited bad activities. That's fine. We're not debating about that. But the point is, everyone will say he has passed away, correct? Or he has gone. What is gone? The body of the dead person we may have seen is still present. Are the hands different now? Are the legs different now? Nothing is different. What is different? The Atma, the soul, the true identity is no more present in that body. The driver has moved out of the body, or the car of the body. The driver is no more present in that body. As a result, that body is just a lump of dead matter. Any comments around this? Because this may sound very simple, but it's very, very important also at the same time. Because if we understand this topic very, very clearly and try to always remember, try to make decisions in life based on this true fundamental of life, then our decisions in our life will be always headed towards the right direction. Otherwise, all the decisions we will be making will be found on the foundation of I am body. And remember, next time I'll tell you the spiritual arithmetic of the body and the soul. Okay, that's kind of the inquisitiveness seed. So let me share a story, because you all like stories, right? Who likes stories? Raise your hand. Okay, everyone likes stories. Who are still awake? Okay, everyone is still awake. That's wonderful. So let's talk about the story of the parrot in the golden cage. Once upon a time, that's how stories begin with, right? There was a wonderful lady who got a wonderful parrot, and then she got a wonderful golden cage. Everything wonderful. Wonderful lady, wonderful parrot, wonderful cage, right? So the cage was very nice. The parrot was very nice. And she used to polish the cage. She got a very nice polish from the best store she had in town. And she used to very nicely polish that cage very, very neatly, and sparkling gold cage, and very, very nice. You know, she was proud of the cage, but she forgot one thing. Guess what? She forgot to, yes, Sampada.
Feed the parrot.
Feed the parrot, correct? She forgot to feed the parrot, and guess what? The parrot was dead. The parrot soul left that parrot's body, correct? Now, what is the purpose of cage? Is the cage more important, or is the parrot more important? It's a simple story, but with a lot of practical lessons. Who all say, raise your hand, or like some kind of reaction if you say the parrot is more important? Okay, most of you think parrot is more important. Who all think the cage is more important? No one feels so, which is correct. The parrot is more important. Between the car and the driver, which is more important? Let's say there's an accident. We may have seen sometimes accidents on the road, correct? And the 911 comes, the rescue team comes. Will they take the car to the garage first to get the car fixed? In this case, the cage first? Or will they take the person sitting inside the car to the hospital first? Right? The person, right? All of you agree? Number 2, yes, Karina says the person should be taken first. Why? Because the body is temporary. The cage is, now that does not mean we become fanatic and say, well, after all, body is temporary. Why should we eat? Why should we dress? Why should we sleep? No, we have to gradually uplift ourselves, correct? From the bodily consciousness to the soul consciousness. That's what Bhagavad Gita is teaching. Right now, from 100% body consciousness, the first step to that transformation is knowledge, correct? When we know who we are, then we can try to work on that platform. When we don't know who we are, then how can we be even happy? Because spiritual science means to know things in their true perspective. Okay, so in a true perspective, understanding our true identity, and that is, I am the spirit soul, not this body. My body is changing. Now let's do an exercise. Okay, let's do an exercise. And some of you have your cameras up, which is really awesome. And some of your cameras are off. If you can at least open up your cameras for this exercise, that would be great. If your circumstances allow, I would really appreciate, because we're going to do an exercise, right? Who will want to do an exercise? Simple and easy. You can do sitting also. It will really give you some wonderful insights. Okay, so now you don't have to move or jump or anything like that. You have to just close your eyes and hear me attentively. Okay, and you have to do what I say. Okay, you have to close your eyes and you have to do what I say, and I will just ask you to point your right hand to different things and parts of your body, and all you have to do is do that. So now it's time to close your eyes until I ask you to open your eyes. Okay, so you can close your eyes and point your right hand, touch your right hand to your forehead. Very nice. Keep your eyes closed. You don't have to open. You don't have to see what others are doing. Now touch your right hand to your left shoulder. Very nice. Now touch your right hand to your belly, your stomach. Now touch your right hand to your knee. Very nice. Now touch your right hand to your ear. Now touch your right hand to your heart. Now touch your right hand to yourself. Okay, now keep your hand there and now open your eyes. Keep your hand there and open your eyes. So, would anyone like to share their realizations or their reflections from this exercise? You can open your eyes now. If anyone likes to share, raise your hand if you would like to share something struck you from this. Karina, you want to share something?
What I saw from my reaction is, Prabhuji, is that every time when you tell us to like touch something, it's all parts of the material body.
Very nice. Yes, Sheetal Mataji, please. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, so Vaidehi who wants to say.
Yes, Vaidehi, please.
When you said to put your right hand on yourself, I put it on my heart because technically the soul resides in the heart and we are the soul.
Very nice. That's so true. That's so true. Very nice. Now, interestingly, we say my head, correct? We don't say I the head. If I have, we say my head is aching, or my knee is aching, or I have a body pain. We don't say I the body is aching, or I the head doesn't feel well, or my shoulders are having some pain. We don't say the shoulder is having pain. We say my pen. Okay, I don't say the pen. What does that mean? That means that I am something different from my shoulders, from my head, from my body. When I said my body, so most of you said like this is my body, which is true. Body means all these: head, mouth, legs, etc. So I am different from the body. This is called like, now there are multiple ways we are trying to understand this: by intuitive understanding, by Bhagavad Gita verses, by our own experience. I'll share some videos also. That there are different, if a person is intelligent and dhira like all of you, then certainly we can understand that I am something else from the body. Reincarnation. What does re mean? Repeat, correct? Kar. Kar in Sanskrit is basically means flesh, right? Carnivorous is interesting, right? This word carnivorous comes from the word kar, the people who eat flesh, or the organisms who eat flesh. So reincar, that means again go in this body or the flesh. So we keep going in different bodies. In this lifetime, I have this body of a male human being. Can I be sure that I'll be getting this body in the next lifetime? Who can say for certain? No one can tell for certain. If I do bad activities, it's a topic for future chapters, then I'll get a bad body, or I'll get a body of which is more suited for my desires. If let's say I like to sleep like a polar bear, then I'll get a polar bear body. That's a topic for next time. But the point is, I am something different. Did you all feel that while you're touching your body or your body parts, that I am not this body? You'll say iPhone. Where is my iPhone, right? That's interesting. This is just for joke, but still. So the point is that I'm something different from the body. I am not this body. And what is that I? I am that spirit soul. I am that Atma, the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord or Bhagwan Krishna. Since I promised you, I'll share a video. So because you all won the quiz, Manasa Mataji did this quiz on your behalf. So let's see this wonderful video. It's just 1.5 minutes. Can you hear? Okay, now you should be able to hear.
Oh, my dear Arjun, why this weakness? Your learned words hold no ground. Now you stand before your relatives, a feeling of compassion, lamentation, but the learned and wise grieve not, whether for the living or the dead. Arjun, you have misplaced your love, an attachment which is temporary. Death, of which you are scared, is but a reality we all have to see. It is only a change. Boyhood to youth, to old age, then death. But the soul does not die. Only a new beginning, like old garments worn and torn, cast off for fresh clothing. We do not lament for that. So why death, which is the same? You are eternal.
Okay, any thoughts, comments, realizations so far before we move on to the next piece? Any questions around this? Because there's a lot of absorption of these verses, and we'll continue to discuss this topic for maybe 1 or 2 more sessions. Yes, I don't know your wonderful name, but yeah, Shudha Mataji, please tell your name also. Yes.
Shreya, I had a question.
Yes, yes, please.
Is there a right or wrong? So, like, if you're afraid of death, is that bad, or if you're afraid of death, or if you're not afraid of death, are any of those bad?
That's an interesting question, Shreya Mataji. Thank you. Thank you so much. Do you want to say something on that question? So, see, death is a change of what? Body, correct? That's death, right? We just learned that. Now, rather, it's not about, see, it's now we are learning this science, and everyone loves their body also, you know, everyone loves their body, correct? The person we love the most is actually ourself, in unless one has really selfless and genuine love, which is very, very rare. If there's a fire, the person first thing, get out of the building, right? That's what they teach in the school. They'll not say, hey, check out if your friend XYZ is in the bathroom and bring that friend out, and they'll say run out. First save yourself, right? So the point is that we all kind of love ourself, but the point is therefore Bhagavad Gita is teaching us what is our true self. So rather than thinking about it's good or bad, let's try to understand what's the right or wrong, or it's kind of the same way. We may have fear, so don't feel bad if we have fear of losing our body, correct? It's natural, but therefore we are trying. This is Bhagavad Gita is not a knowledge giving session. It will give knowledge, yes, but that knowledge, when put into practice, will bring us away from that fearful situation. Yes, Arjuna also had fear of losing his relatives, correct? So he was also in the same state, which, like most of us, we also have a lot of fear of losing our body and losing the body of our dear ones, correct? But that's what Krishna is telling, that at some point or the other, this will happen. So we can prepare ourselves, correct? Because something at some point or the other, no matter how good or bad family we have, will they be with us forever? Whether it's our grandfather, grandmother, father, mother, children, will they eternally be with us? That's a question we have to ask. And the answer is no, right? We all agree. The answer is no. No matter how good our father may be, mother may be, or grandfather, grandmother, children, husband, wife may be, we will at one point, we'll have to kind of separate, right? That does not mean that we are just focusing on that point. That does not mean that we break the relationships, etc. But the point is that we understand the real truths of life, or the real facts of life, and base our foundation on those principles. Then when that change will happen, we will not be bewildered. Dhiras tatra na muyati. Because that change will come. And sometimes it may come at an old age, but sometimes it may not come at an old age. And if person, because Bhagavad Gita is a living scripture, it's a scripture to live our lives. Therefore, if someone has the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, that person will be able to go through those reversals, those difficult situations in a much more better way than an ordinary person. I have seen and heard multiple cases. If the other person, let's say a dear one died at not at an old age, at an unexpected age, at an unexpected situation. How many of you have heard or seen such cases, right? We all have heard or seen such cases, correct? Either in our own lives or in lives of our dear ones. And I'm sure you may have heard of some cases that the other person who was connected to them goes into depression, goes into bad habits, it takes to the wrong things, or stops to live one's own life. Why? Because of lack of understanding of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is a practical scripture which teaches us to live life. So rather than, we may be attached to our body. That's very natural in this current day and age. But we may be attached to the body of others. Arjuna's situation. How can I, although they may be old, but I am attached. Arjuna is telling, I'm attached to my grandfather. I'm attached. He was the one who would hold me in his lap and say, oh, little Arjuna will play. I would sometimes ride on his back. That attachment develops, correct? With our parents, with our children, with our grandparents, etc., whomever we live closely with. But the point is, Bhagavad Gita is teaching us to be ready for that test. And this is just one aspect of that reversal. So yes, we may be attached, but we should slowly and gradually, we don't have to like meditate upon that day and etc. But when that day comes, and we'll be brave to face it, rather than torturing ourselves or going in depression or giving up our own lives, etc. Because now my dear one is no more, right? So that we will bravely and happily and with the strength continue on the spiritual platform. Does that help?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, answer.
Yes. Thank you for such a thoughtful question and such a genuine question. You're very intelligent. Dhira. Dhira means intelligent or steady. Yes, Ram Mohan Prabhu, you have a question? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Dhanava Pranam, dear devotees. Prabhuji, can you permit me to just share some experience about what you was talking about just now about lost in a loved one and how Bhagavad Gita helps you to handle that situation?
Absolutely. Please share.
Yes, thank you. Dear devotees, I lost my eldest child, who was Karina's mom in 2016. And it was obviously a very, very difficult time for me and my family under the circumstances that she died. And I just want to mention this to each and everyone. Hadn't been for spiritual life, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, understanding a little bit of what I know, and the strength that I gained from that did not go into depression, did not turn to anything, but it made me stronger to believe exactly what Lord Krishna was preaching to Arjuna. And I urge each and every one of you to take this up very seriously, because we don't know which one else would have some calamities in our lives, and then this would be the way to go to handle such situations. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing those moments. I know they're not easy and to even share and recount, but how you are sharing and like a living example of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And we don't want these situations to come in anyone's life. We pray for everyone's, a devotee should be a well-wisher to everyone. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramayaha. We pray that every day. But somehow, this is mrityuloka. Kamala dala jala jivana kalamala. Like a drop of water on the lotus petal is very fickle because it's like a slimy layer of lamination there. We don't know when that drop of water could fall. Now, this is not to scare us from death. This is not because a devotee is actually not scared from death. Why? Because he is practicing Bhagavad Gita. She's practicing Bhagavad Gita. And she knows that whatever the Supreme Lord will arrange in my life will be for my good. So very good discussion, and I have seen like opposites also. I have seen in my own kind of acquaintance, one of without going into much details, her husband died at like, about 50 years, 55 years. It's not too old, but not too early, but still compared to the average life, it's a little early, because ultimately we are all old, right? Some say I'm 20 years old, I'm 10 years old, I'm 15 years old. We're all old, correct? So, but then when her husband died, her life kind of stopped in so much depression and so much, and didn't go very smooth. Why? Bewildered, bewildered. And that's actually the next verse we have. If I want to see if we have more questions or comments. If not, we'll go to the verse. But let's see if we have more comments or questions or reflections from today's discussion. We covered till text 13 so far. Mind me, next time I'll show you some discussions about outer body and past life experience in current day and age. Study of Dr. Ian Stevenson, and I'll also teach spiritual arithmetic, 1 plus 1. But for now, let's focus on today's reflections or comments from today's discussion. If we have anything really struck you, anything, or if you have any question in the last 5-10 minutes we have. Anyone? Yes, Karan. Yes, Karthik Prabhu. Sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, devotees. Prabhu, from what you have explained so far, it seems like to the degree with which we are attached to something, to that degree we are going to feel the pain of separation, whether be it an object or be it a person. I've had instances where, some of my friends, they got a brand new car and somebody scratched it the next day. And I could really feel the agony and the pain that he was going through, like for those few days until it kind of got it repaired. That he was like, oh, this is something new, and he wanted to maintain it, but somebody did this act to it, and he was in a lot of pain. And I kind of realized that it's just a car, and why are you feeling so much pain? But I kind of realized that it's because he's so attached to his new car, he was feeling the level of separation. But you know another instance, somebody else, his car was like maybe 20-year-old car. It was a second-hand one, and he got a dent on the car, as feeling as painful as my friend kind of thought of, the other friend felt. So I've seen these two variations, and I think the key, what I realized is, whether be it an object or be it an individual, the key word is attachment. And I think what is more important for us to learn is how to detach ourselves, and not still lose the flavor of the relationship. Sometimes people think about detachment as like giving up everything, and like not speaking with anybody or showing the love, care, and affection that they need to. But despite of continuing to show that love, care, and affection, how do we develop the art of detaching ourselves, so that we won't really go through this pain at the moment of death? So I think that's something that made me think that I'm hoping, and obviously in the future verses and chapters, I think we're going to discuss more about some of the tools that we all can use.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing. You made really important points. That Bhagavad Gita is not to make us insensitive. Oh, I'm not this body. Let me not feed my children. They're not this body. That's not Bhagavad Gita, right? Bhagavad Gita, it's if someone draws those conclusions, that's like misinterpretation of those verses. But the point is that we have to do our dutiful duties, keeping the spiritual relationship of the Supreme Lord is the center, that they are the child of God. Let me do my best to take care of them. And this brings to a wonderful discussion, which my spiritual master was asked. Then, well, if we are not the body, then why do we need to take care of the body? Correct? Correct? Why do we do yoga? Why do we say take care of your health, take care of your body? Correct? It's a genuine question. Isn't it? Who all think it's a good question? Raise your hand. Then I'll share what His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, my spiritual master, shared. Correct? If we are not the body, which we are saying here now, correct? I am not the body. This is my body, it's the tool. So we're talking about this car example, correct? Now, there are two types of cars, right? The cars which, the general public drives, correct? We all have different cars or vehicles, motor vehicles to go from X place to Y place. And we maintain our cars, correct? By checking the oil, checking the brakes, checking the fuel, etc. And sometimes, I have been into those situations where the car does not start, and then you have to call someone or insurance, or that the battery is dead. Correct? Happens maybe to some of you, or it needs a dhakka start. It needs some kind of push, or in India they push the car, right, to get it started. Or here they may do like some battery and charge up and whatnot. But imagine there is another type of car, emergency vehicles, correct? Now, do they take care of those vehicles as well? Okay, so it's not on mute. Can you please put yourself on mute? Okay, now it's good. So there are emergency vehicles, correct? All of you have seen emergency vehicles. They come when someone is in difficulty. Like, they are also cars, different way, bigger cars, right? In one way, we can see there are motor vehicles. They also have the same engine, tires, etc. Now, do they maintain those as well by checking the oil, checking the brakes, etc.? Correct? What do you think? How many of you think that they maintain them 100 times more than an ordinary person would maintain their car? Raise your hand, or at least they maintain them to a much finer degree than an ordinary person would maintain. Correct? Very nice.
They do.
All of you agree? All of you agree that they maintain them are much more better. Correct? Now the question may come, why? Because they are on a mission. Correct? My spiritual master shared this. So as spiritualists, we are also on a spiritual mission. First of all, to help our own self and to help others also to give this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, if let's say there's a call from 911, person has a fire in the home, they need help. Oh, sorry, the car is not starting. Oh, I forgot, the battery is dead. That's disastrous, correct? It's life and death situation. So their cars are maintained much finer degree. Why? Because they're on a spiritual, they're on a mission to help others. Similarly, we can take this as a lesson, and we must take care of our bodily needs, take care of our health, take care of our diet, take care in a spiritual way, understanding that we are on a spiritual mission. So our body should, if your body is not healthy to take care of our own self, what can we help others with? Correct? So I really like that answer, and I share that multiple times. Therefore, we don't have to become extremists. Oh, I'm not the body. Forget about the children. Forget about health. Forget about diet. All these things are important so that the soul can reach its journey or its destination with the medium of the car or body. The car is not the destination, but we need that car or the body to get to that destination. Okay, I just thought to share that since we're talking about the body and the car and the fuel. Any other comments? Any questions? Aparna Mataji, you have a comment or a question? Hithin, Hithin ji, please.
I thank you for creating an enlightening session, and the part that touched me a lot is that those who don't know themselves, like you gave an example, somebody thinks I'm a king. So those who don't know themselves, Gita terms them as fools. So in ordinary life, we consider fool as people who fail in life, who lose money, who make mistakes, who are not successful in studies. We call them fools. Gita has this unique perspective that you created, that those who don't know themselves, and we spend very less time discovering who we are. So this was a great takeaway. Thank you.
That's wonderful. I really like the way you put it, Prabhu. Thank you. That's so insightful. That's such a nice realization. If we don't know who we are, then real knowledge is not the way to make a lot of money or the way to become a king. And next time I'll tell a story of a fool king. How many of you want to hear the Mahamurkha story? A foolish king. Okay, so don't miss the next session. And if you really are well-wishers of others, then please share that with someone else also, so they can also join and hear those wonderful stories. So what else? Any other last closing comments or questions anyone has before we close for today?
You told us the story of woman, she was polishing the cage. It's likely that we must be enjoying the material life, but our soul is rejoiced by hearing the verses or hearing the spiritual connotations, and we should do that in order to get liberation and attain a place in Vaikunt level.
Wonderful. That's so insightful. The lady was feeding the car or the cage, but ignored to feed the driver inside. Let's say someone polishing the cage and polishing the car, getting good fuel, getting good engine oil, getting good waxing of the car. It's like bodily decorations, but feeding the soul, as you said, by the verses, by the chanting of the holy name, by good association. These are the ways we have to feed, by enriching ourselves with spiritual enlightenment through Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Then it's a nice balance. You don't have to stop feeding the body. You have to maintain the vehicle, but more important, we have to maintain the Atma, or the driver within. Very nice point. Thank you. And thank you. I mean, she's my teacher, joining all the way from India at 4:30. Can you imagine her sincerity? Thank you so much. And that too on a Sunday morning. That's even more great. Okay, so I think it's time, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for taking out your precious time and giving your wonderful association in this wonderful discussion. Reading Bhagavad Gita together is so insightful and so beneficial, I believe, for all of us. I especially feel for myself, and I'm sure you may be feeling likewise. So I'm very, very grateful to all of you for your precious association in these sessions. As I always say, please take a time to call some of your friends and share with them also, so they can also feel the benefit. They can also come for the Bhagavad Gita sessions, and that's our service to them. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita Upanishad ki jai. Shri Prabhupada
Hare
ki
Krishna.
jai. Samveta Gaur Bhaktivinoda.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. See you
Hare
next
Krishna
time.
Prabhuji, thank you.
Krishna.
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Prabhuji.
Babaji, thank you.